I'm adding a door, a sliding door in this family room for approximately these two panels, and then there's going to be a fixed window over here. So there was power in the wall, which had to be removed, so I chopped a hole in the wall where the receptacle was, and I traced the wire back here, and the wire is now over here, and I drilled through to the outside, and then I'm feeding power to some lighting outside, and then across the outside of the house, because this wall will no longer exist, and putting in another receptacle over there. This is an overview of my project. This is the wiring so that you can kind of follow along. I know it's kind of confusing because of the way that the thing is presented, but this actually puts it all together in a way that should make sense, because electricity acts very much like water in that it flows from one place to another, and it's very logical if you provide the path for it. If you want to see the entire project, the wiring, reviewed, go to about 33 minutes in the video, and you can see the summary of wiring rather than going through and seeing all the boxes mounted and all that other stuff. That's where I poked a hole through yesterday, and it was a live power line. I've turned off the power to it so that we'll check that in a second. But anyway, so the plan is I'm going to come up here, put a box here for a switch. So I'm going to run up here and put a set of floodlights up above, and there'll be an outlet there, two switches, one for that floodlight and one for whatever lighting I'll have in the future over here. And then I'm going to run a piece of conduit underneath what will be the patio, and I'm going to run, and there'll be another outlet over there with a switch for a floodlight up there. If you come out on the patio, on the path from the side door or any movement in the back of the house, that light will come on. This light up here is switched from a door on the side of the house. This is a circuit tester. This just tells you if a circuit is alive or not, so that you don't electrocute yourself. And all you do is you hold it up against the wire, and it will indicate whether or not there's any power here. It beeps and turns red. So in fact that's dead. But just as a side note here, this is a extension cord, and that indicates that there's power there. So that's what you look for. This box will go here, but of course we have to bring power in from there, and I bought a box without the thing, so we're gonna poke a hole here. Okay. And this box will go right here. Okay. First, I have some sealant. I don't want any bugs coming in here or rainwater. So I just fill this up with some stuff, and we'll glom this up with some stuff too, mostly on the top. This just happens to be brown. This is a hammer drill. So this is an old hammer drill. But anyway, it's 2 speeds. This is high speed, and you can turn this and it hammers, so it rotates and hammers at the same time, which you use for any type of time you get into masonry, because otherwise the drill wouldn't penetrate. So I'm just going to put, we're going to come back and put more stuff on there, but okay, we're into some solid cement, but that's okay. These are tap cons, which are cement screws, and you pre-drill, which is the diameter that we just put on there. You pre-drill for the diameter and the depth, and then you put this in there like this. So we wanted to put some more goop in there. Let's see here. And that's on there good and tight, not going anywhere. The next thing we have to do is decide where the switch will be, which I think is probably going to be, that'll be going about here somewhere. This is electrical conduit, which is just plastic pipe in gray, and it's opened up at one end. So that you can put piece and piece together like this. This is 3/4 inch plumbing pipe. Anyway, this is plumbing pipe. It's the same thing. It's all going to be painted. So one of the things about pipe is that plastic deteriorates in the sun, and so you want to get stuff that's either you're going to paint it or you're going to get stuff that's impervious to sunlight, which is that. Okay, so we're going to come up, I'm going to cut a piece 2 feet long, and that switch will be right here. So this is rigid. This is all, they made their name in pipe equipment, but this is, we're going to cut this right here. So that will go here. This will go here. Alright, now what we're going to do is This is cement, and this is rain or shine. This is usually used for plumbing in case the stuff is wet, but this is fine. Okay, and this gives you just a few seconds to work with. And that'll be watertight. Oops. Come on. Okay, it ain't going anywhere. Fish this wire up to the top through that skinny 1/2-inch line, and you can see how you could probably fit one more piece of Romex through that to get up there. But if you had to expand, you know, we're only going to put this one piece up there, so that's fine. And you can see it up top there now. And we just pull it this way and add enough wire to get out. Okay. And then we take a knife like this. We very carefully split the outside case without damaging either of the conductors inside. And we cut it back so that we can get to all this stuff. Okay, so we only need that much wire to work with. And we take this, and these are for different sizes. This is number 12. This will carry 20 amps safely. And then for smaller circuits like lighting, which doesn't take a lot, you can actually use 14 gauge. And you can see the difference in the sizes here. There's 12 and 14 are the most common, and 10 for larger things, but the larger the wire, the more current the wire can carry. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go with number 12. We're going to split it, and we take about a 1/2 inch. We just clip through there, cuts through the wire, and then we just slide off the insulation. Same thing, second spot is number 12. And slice off the insulation. Just that easy. Okay, and then this is ground. Green is always ground, so that's what we're going to ground to, but I'll show you how that'll work. Okay, so this is the inside of the lamp holder. And you see that there's wires, there's 2 wires that go from each of these lamp holders that enter into the back of the fixture. You wrap the 2 black ones together and you attach it to the Romex wire, which is over here, and you attach the 2 white ones together, and you put that on the white Romex wire, and you attach a wire nut to it. And then where the Romex wire comes up for the ground, which is here, it goes around the green screw in the direction that you're going to tighten the screw, and that leaves the end free and clear. And then you take I guess I took a wire from another job, another thing, and I wrapped it around this ground wire over here, this ground wire over here, and then brought the other end together, and I wrapped all those together with another wire nut like that, so that you have a clear path no matter what to get back to the panel to complete the circuit in the event that there's a white, this is the neutral, white failure, this is the, to complete the circuit. But black is always hot and white is always neutral. And then, of course, these are wire nuts, and these kind of lock into the wire itself. So that's what the inside of the thing looks like that we missed with the original video, and I'm going to add this into the center of it so you can see how this all goes. The other thing that I'll mention is that what's nice about these is where they make these gaskets. The gasket's just a little bit tighter than the screw, which holds the screw into place so that it doesn't fall out while you're fussing with it and trying to get it to line up with your mounting holes on the mounting box. So that's it. That's how it all goes together. By loosening these up, these little teeth engage here so that will hold your lamp holder in its proper position. And you can adjust those just by loosening this up. And then backing it off a little bit, and it allows this space to form here, and then you can slide this back and forth to wherever you want it. These nuts here, these can be adjusted just using a screwdriver. If you have this happens to be, well, use a flat-headed screwdriver like this, you can undo these so that it loosens it up. This is just a jam nut, and it jams itself against the base. This rolls so that when this rolls back, then you can rotate the lamp holder whichever way you want, and then you snug this back. You can actually take a hammer, put this up like so, and tap it into place, and that will jam that into its proper location. Okay, this is the primer on switches because, again, I missed some of the stuff that was important. You notice, first of all, this is a typical switch. This is happens to be a rocker switch. They call them Decora, which was somebody who originally developed these, but they make them all over the place now. And you'll notice up at the top here of someplace it'll say top, and generally that means that this will be on, off, on. Okay, so it says top, and that's the way it's mounted in the box. On a switch, you'll notice that there's only two screws because you have power coming into the screw, or into the switch rather, and then you break the power going to whatever device you want, and then you attach the device to this. So this is called the line, this is called the load. So you can put them in either direction, it really doesn't matter because the electricity doesn't know the difference. But you'll only be tying a black wire, which is the power in, wherever it's coming from, to one of the terminals, and then you'll do the load on the other terminal. And again, you wrap the wire around the screw in the direction in which you're going to tighten it, and that draws the wire toward the center of the screw. You'll also notice that on the back of this, here's the ground over here. You'll notice on the back of this, there's also a couple of holes. These are also terminals that you can use instead. I always wrap them. I don't like this stuff. You can either wrap them, or you can stick the wire, in this instance, you can stick the wire underneath this little movable plate here, and it'll also grab the wire in a similar manner to wrapping. And on the back of this, you'll also see there's a line someplace here. Give me just a second, it'll say strip gauge. Oh, here it is right here. Okay. This line here shows you how long the wire needs to be, or the conductor needs to be, the insulation needs to be stripped back on the conductor in order to poke the wire into one of these holes. It used to be that these holes would not allow you to put a 12 gauge wire in it. These may or may not, I don't know. You could only put 14 gauge in there, which is smaller. The larger the number, the smaller the wire. 12 gauge is a larger wire than a 14 gauge, which is smaller. Okay, so you wrap your ground, and you put only hot wire coming in and wire going to whatever your device is over here on the switch. All right. This is a receptacle. Oh, you notice also on this on the switch, both of those screws are gold. Again, gold always signifying that it's going to be hot. So on a receptacle, you'll see gold screws on one side, which is hot, and white screws on the other side, which is neutral. You'll also notice that the ground lug is always on the same side as the neutral, because this is just a backup safety, right? Okay, and it's the same type thing here, where you have the black side is power into this, and if you're going on to another thing, you can tie onto that and go onto another device. And the neutral, in order to complete the circuit in the particular receptacle, you need to attach the neutral wire here, which is white, and then white going on to whatever device you're going on beyond here. Again, this is ground, and that's going to be the uninsulated wire, and you can attach that. You will just tie those together, and it's the same thing with the white, typically for the switch. You just tie the white wires together. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, this is a trenching shovel, and we're going to trench along here because this is going to be underneath our patio, but we're going to put conduit in there, and I'm hoping that we can get it deep enough. This is an old sprinkler here, which I don't care about anymore. Those can all come the heck out of there. I had sprinklers in Miami that were nothing but trouble. And here, I'm trying to get, what the heck's that? Oh, that's nothing. That's some cable TV or something, which I don't have any of anymore. That's another thing that I wanted to get rid of. And this looks like a tree root from God knows where, but of course it would go along the edge of the house, right? I cut a piece of PVC and glued it to the bottom of the receptacle box. So we've got power coming into the box. We're going to go up and down with the power. And then I cut, that's an elbow that I bought. And then the long piece of conduit, it's 20 feet, but I'm going to cut it. I just had laid it in there so you could see what it was. And I'm going to glue it there. First, I'm going to fish the wire down through it. Makes it a lot easier. Fish the wire down through that, where I can slide it through the turn and then down the straight sections, and then I can glue the pieces together. All right. I made a mistake in that when you put these pieces together, you want the fat end to be the entry end, and the skinny end, and that goes for the straight conduit too, and the skinny end to be the exit end, so that it would exit coming up this way. And if you go the other direction, you end up hitting the edges, and it just gives you fits in order to try to get the thing through. So what I ended up doing is saying, well, it doesn't matter, I'm going to terminate it over here anyway, so let me feed it from this end. So I fed it through one section here. I cut it so that I'm going to put the elbow there. I'm going to put the elbow on that, and I'm going to go up this wall. But I fished it through here. I'm going to glue that. Fished it through this 10 foot of conduit here, and then I'm going to glue it here. But I have the end here, so this is, you know, I know where the length is, and I'm going to put it all together here. So that's the plan. Okay, so the plan here is to poke a hole through this wall, because I'm going to put a receptacle on the inside also, and then there'll be a switch here. The switch will be to turn off the light up above, which will be on automatic, will be on all the time unless you turn it off. And there will also be a receptacle here, and then I'm going to put a receptacle on the wall inside, because there isn't one in this corner, and there needs to be. So that's the plan. So I'm going to take, I have a big level here, and of course now that I'm going to mark this so that I know where the line is going to be, and then I'm going to poke a hole through the wall here. So okay, so the drill is all the way through. It's sticking through the wall on the inside of the house, so that's good. So now all I'm going to do is put the little piece to go from the base onto the box, mount the box, and then we'll be ready for a switch there, and to put the other piece of conduit up the wall and attach it to the fixture for the light. Okay. Let's see how far in that went. It's 8-inch cement block and about 3 inches inside, so that's like 11 inches or so in through there. Okay, so I cut the different pieces. I stuck it together. I ran a wire inside the house, so that's there, and it's out hanging out here. And then I put this thing up there. I decided this is going to light this path over here, really, so that's, I decided I would just put it low like that, and then this you can adjust. You can rotate this to point wherever you want, so you come around the corner and it turns on the light for you. That's the key. And then there's sensitivity settings over here, the length of time that you want it to be on, how sensitive it is, and how bright you want the lights to be. So you can set all of that, which is fine. I'll do that later in the dark. Anyway, so that's that. This just goes on. There's a bar that you screw onto the thing, and then this screws onto the bar. So that's it. That's the way that goes. And then I'm going to, the only tricky thing here is I've got this switch. Okay, this light will be on all the time unless I turn it off. So here's the switch to turn it off with. So I made a boo-boo, which I've since corrected. I broke out that bar too soon, and understand I wasn't thinking straight when I did it. So what I've done is I took a little piece of wire and I made a bridge back here. It's just a little loop, and I just bent it back behind the receptacle, but it just goes from here to here because you want the power to come into the circuit and also be fed here. So the way that this works is you have the power coming up that we put in down below. It comes into this box. It feeds the hot side, this wire here, feeds the hot side of the terminal, and then it with the little loop, I broke the bar out, so with the little loop it feeds the hot side of the switch, and when you close the switch it sends the power from here to here, or not, and it sends it up to the light to run. Okay, you tie all of those together, so that's the final thing that I'm doing. And then I have the receptacle inside the house, so that needs to be hot all the time also. So the power comes up here, comes into this gang of wires here, and then goes into the house. All the neutrals get tied together, so that's the white. This completes the circuit. So the power comes in, goes through the device, comes back down, goes through here, goes back to the panel, and that completes your circuit. Without this, you got nothing. And then we've done the same thing with the ground. This is the ground here. This is only here for safety. And you tie all those together also. So they're tied together, and it's tied to the back side of the switch over here. Where is it? That green, the green screw, because green is always ground. And that's tied to the switch so that it protects the switch, or protects the person using the switch. And it's also tied into the light up above, and all that stuff's all tied together also. So the electricity, in the event that one of these neutrals were to be broken, it would have an alternate means of getting back to the thing instead of electrocuting somebody. So that's the scoop. So that's the end of this. I'm going to stuff this all into this box now, and then I'm going to go into the house and wrap the end of that wire, because it's a hot wire right now, and of course there's no receptacle inside. I'm not going to do that today, probably do it later. Anyway, so that's the next time you'll see this, it'll be in the box. Okay, this is going to be very similar to that one over there, except that this is the one that feeds, so this will be hot all the time. We send the power up to the two switches above, that box up there. And of course those will be all together, so you tie all the black together, tie all the white together, and then we're going to take this one and send the power over there, the one where we just were wiring. So I'm going to shorten this up just a little bit, strip back this wire, and then I'm going to tie all this stuff together. I'm going to actually put a receptacle in there. The receptacle's down there in the dirt. But again, there's just, because that's hot all the time, I'm just going to tie a hot wire to the hot side, a neutral to the neutral side, tie all the whites together, tie all the blacks together, do the same thing with the ground for protection, and put a ground wire on that and put it in place, and bang, bing, bang, boom, another cover just like the one over there, and we're done. And then I can turn the power on and see if I electrocute myself or start a fire. Okay, bye. Okay, so everything here is all tied together now. So you've got power coming out of the house, that's this one. Power is going into feed this way, and also here. So that's the 4 wires, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 coming in, 3 going out. 1, 2, 3. Same thing, all the neutrals get tied together. That's to complete the circuit. Same thing, coming in and going up, going down, and attaching to here. So that's 1, 2, and 3, and the same thing with the ground. So now I'm going to stuff all these wires back into the receptacle, or the J-box, junction box, and screw this in, put the cover on, and we're done on the outside. I'm here revisiting the electrical job that I did the other day because I did such a poor job of filming it. I just wanted to share with people how to go about doing this. So I'll tie this into another piece that, some of the other video that I had. But anyway, this box is where the power actually comes from inside the house. This is the end of the circuit, and the power is off, incidentally, so there's no electricity here. I already checked that. That's something that you need to do, absolutely. But the power comes in through the wall, And I put, this is specifically, I used, the wire comes in through a hole that I drilled here, and then I filled this with sealant so that I couldn't get water inside and I can't get bugs inside. So that was my primary concern. So I have 3 prongs coming in, or 3 conductors coming in, a black, a white, and a ground, which is the uninsulated. The black is the power feeding. Black is always hot, so for example it feeds this receptacle here, plus I want it to go on to other things, so it's going to feed down into this tube here to go underneath the soil over that way. It's also going to feed up to a set of switches and a set of lights that I have up above. So let's follow the circuit. So the black comes in here. I've tied these all together. Okay, I've tied these all together with a wire nut, so these have been stripped back. So it feeds here, it feeds here, that goes down into the conduit below, and it feeds here that goes up into this wire here, and we'll follow it up to here. Comes into this box, so here's the power coming in. It feeds power to this switch and power to this switch over here. And you're always breaking the hot side. So this switch goes no place yet. This is for future use, and wherever it goes, whatever I'm feeding will be tied onto this screw and go up. I'll take a plug out of the top of this box and set conduit to go wherever it goes for additional lighting. But this switch here, the power comes in here and comes out here, broken obviously by the switch, comes out and heads up here into the conduit. Up to the lights above here. So here the power comes in here. There are 2 lights, 2 lamp holders here, 1 and 2. Each of those has a neutral and a black. Neutral and a black, and we need to tie those together to the neutral here so that the 2 neutrals go with this neutral. And here's the power coming in, and it ties to supply the power to each of the receptacles, or to the light holders, lamp holders. And then I have the ground. That's always the bare wire, so that's wrapped around the ground to ground the box, so that's just a protective measure. It continues on here and ties into another piece of wire that I got from that I stripped out of the shielded wire, and it goes in here and it ties around the green screws for each of these, which then protects the lamp holders as well. So I have a potential circuit for safety all the way around. And then we'll just put this, stuff the wires back into this box, put the screws in to hold this thing into place. And then these are the lamp holders, and you adjust these by, this is a jam nut. You can break that loose, and that allows you to rotate the lamp holder. And then these are screws which you loosen up. With that additional space, when it's loose, it allows you to change the teeth engagement here so that you can swing this one way or the other and then snug it up in order to hold it in that position. In order to tighten these nuts, you just take a screwdriver, you lean it against the notch on the nut, and you tap it with a hammer on the back of the screwdriver in order to snug this up into the position that you want to hold it. Okay, so now we'll follow the circuit the other way. The power coming in from the wall now also is tied into one of these blacks over here that heads down into the wire that's coming out of the conduit down below here. And I trenched across underneath the window. There's going to be a patio here at this height, so it goes into an elbow. I have that in another video I'll show you. And it comes up out of the ground here, and again I attach the box to the wall. There is nothing, well, actually I'm going into the house over here. I enter, the black comes up here, and I'm going in 3 directions. Number 1 to this is a switch and a receptacle, It's also going into the house. I drilled a hole through the wall going into the house to feed a receptacle on the other side of the wall inside. And then I'm going up the wall here through this conduit into this box here, which will be another light. So I haven't installed that light yet, but you see it's got the same set of wires. Comes out of here. This will feed the positive side to the light holder. This will feed the negative side, or accept the circuit for the negative side, and this is the ground to protect the circuit. That's really all the ground functions for. And just a side note, these are all GFI circuits. GFI is ground fault interrupters. That means that in the event that a ground is missing, the device that's monitoring that will snap and turn off immediately, and it protects you from getting a shock. That's inside the house, and that feeds all of this stuff. So if there's a ground fault, if any of these things faults out where the ground is not available, the GFI circuit recognizes it and turns it off immediately. So that's the summary, and I'm going to put these all back together now. This is sort of an unusual setup. This is a, you always find these bars, and this is just attached to the box with some standard screws. But what's unusual about this is that this is a proprietary thing. This will only work with this particular lamp that I bought. So you send these wires through here because we're going to make attachments on the outside. And this box is attached to this by a screw. It's which one? This one here, which is crazy because it's nuts crazy long. Okay, whoops. All right, this is attached this way, and then these wires, it's specifically labeled here in order to, again, the light will work either way you do these, but you want to maintain your polarity, and because of that, all right, it says over here, what does it say? I wish I could read it. Okay. This is what they call line, which is always your power in. So line goes in here. Whoops. And they get, whoops, and they give you a silly little screwdriver, and you slide this wire in to the slot at the top of this. Make sure we got this all the way out. Okay, so that the wire can slide in there, and then you tighten up the little screw to snug up on the wire. Gives you your continuity. Okay, and then we do the same thing for the neutral. We snug that up. Okay, so those are in there snug. And this is our ground. Incidentally, this ground, there's like a little metal plate on the back side of this on the inside, and that ties into this lug here, which holds the light into place. So that's what gives us the ground to the light. And then once we have our stuff in place, we stuff these wires wherever it's convenient to get them the heck out of the way so they don't get crushed or cut. And then our light attaches. There's these two pilot here that go into these holes just to keep the light this way, and this is what attaches the whole light to the mounting plate. And these two plugs here plug into these two holes that where we attach the wires to. So these are through, and this thing just snaps in place, and then we hold it in with a screw. So we're gonna make sure that we're all lined up. And just give it a little wiggle to make sure that those electrical plugs are engaged. And this attaches to that mounting plate. And of course this is all plastic, so it doesn't have to be Herculean to get the thing attached. It's just whatever. This is the photos or the motion sensor, and I'm interested in protecting this path that I have over here. So we want to turn it as far that direction as we can, and this means this is 180 degrees. So anybody walking across here will turn these lights on, and we can adjust these this way and this way. So that should be about right, and tonight I'll come out and check it. Okay, there's controls over here, one for sensitivity and one for the amount of time to remain on. So sensitivity is how easily the thing is set off, and time on is if you want it to stay on for 5 minutes after that happens, or just stay on for 30 seconds. With this it hardly matters. And then there's also a test position, but we're not going to get into that now. But anyway, that piece of it's finished. So next we're gonna do this. All right, so I'll push these into where they're out of my way. Push this into where it's out of my way. The only important thing is that no black wire ever touch the white or the raw copper. So that's really important. Otherwise that's a direct short. So you try to push these in so that nothing is going to touch this side of the switch. And once you get the thing into its position, this switch incidentally turns this light on or off, so that if you're out here and you don't want the light flashing on and off every time you move around, you turn it off. And then this is just another receptacle. So these line up with this. Now, this is an outside location. This is a box that protects it from the weather, and these will mount one of two ways. Either so that this would be at the top and the thing would flip up like this, which I find very inconvenient because it'll only come up so far and then you can't see what you're doing, or this allows you to mount it either way, and I chose to do it this way so I could open it this way. you'll see that these screws, which were the mounting, are also the mounting for this. So we can kind of stick those through. This needs to be let out just a little bit. Let go. Okay. And this is a mask. These come with the switch. To mask out the type of receptacle that you have. Where is it? Ahead of this. Here it is. There we go. And it snaps into place, and then you snug it down. And that's it. And this gasket seals against the weather. Plus we've done all that, so there's no moisture to get in here. And now if I want to turn this on or off, I open it up. This is on and off. Okay. All right, so again, we just stick these wires into the box. And again, these gaskets hold these screws, which is really a nice, smart feature. So shoving those back in there. And unfortunately, these are not Phillips screws. These are slot-headed. I don't have that screwdriver. It's down here. Okay. This, incidentally, is set up so that if I wanted to put more lights that were controlled by that one switch, I could take these plugs out of the side here, run another piece of conduit in from the side, and run a light to some other location, and tie it all in just like I tied these light holders in. I could do the same thing with a wire running to another light, and then tie that all together. The only thing that's limiting you is how many lights you have, so that you're not overtaxing the circuit, putting too many lights on a particular circuit. But this, we adjust. I'm gonna snap it up one time here. And I've already shown you how to adjust these things, but these will hit the patio in 2 locations. This might be a little too high. And then we just take our light bulbs and stick them in there. Okay. Now, these 2 switches, there's nothing, whoops, just dropped one of the screws. There's nothing here. Power coming in, power going out. The only thing, again, is the important thing is not to get these bare wires near any of the black wires or the black screws. So that's all. Shove this in here. Shove that in there. Where's that screw? There's right here. Duh. Okay. These little plastic things are what hold the screw into place, you know, from falling out of the light fixture or the receptacle or switch. This one has one. The screw that fell, for some reason I'm missing one, but they're handy. This number 12 wire is pretty stiff, so you try to get things lined up so that the wire, as you're trying to tighten stuff up, doesn't influence the box one place or another. This is the same general thing. This box does not give you the opportunity to mount it sideways like the singles. I don't know why, but because it would be nice to have that way, but it doesn't matter. This is up high, so it's okay. So we're just lining up the screws. Come on. Okay, and they're all in place. Make sure that we're not screwing around with our gasket. Just want to make sure that they're not too tight. After all, it's only plastic, right? Alright, so there's the switch. And now, this guy. Oops. I actually want it this way because you're going to be over on this side and you want it so you can see into the box while you're fussing with this. Okay. And that's it. Now we can put our flood lamps into the lamp holder. Oops. test that. And make sure these are both off. Make sure that this is off. And we'll turn the circuit back on. There are my lights. It happens to be daytime, but this is on test mode. And they just went out. And then I can turn them off here so that they'll never come on. Just to protect against the you know, people walking around when you don't want the light coming on. So that's a switch. And this is still a receptacle that can be used, plus the one that's inside the house. And then, of course, that's just a plug. This is the light switches that we put in. And there's the power. And they're off.